In this video, we're going to explore one of the most commonly used and critical components of cloud computing, Amazon EC2 or Elastic Compute Cloud. EC2 is often considered the heart of cloud computing, and many people recognize cloud computing primarily through this service. So it is very important that you gain proper understanding of the concept we cover in this video. But before we dive into this service, I would like to highlight an important note for you. Almost every AWS service that you hear about today likely had a traditional old-fashioned way in the past before existence of cloud computing. AWS and other cloud service providers looked into automate these services to eliminate the difficulties associated with using them and to facilitate easier access over the years. And if you haven't had the chance to watch our cloud computing video, I definitely recommend you to do so. It will greatly enhance your understanding of this topic. Okay, Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud, or EC2, is the modern equivalent of what we used to have with physical servers in the past. Every asset and every action that was available in the traditional and old-fashioned way now can be leveraged with 100 times better ease of use in the cloud with EC2. So everything we had in the past has been implemented in the cloud. You just need to familiarize yourself with the proper equivalent and its terminology. Let me break it down for you by providing several examples. In the old times, if you needed a server, you had to purchase, order, or rent it from somewhere or a provider, right? In the cloud, you can easily do this by creating something called an EC2 instance. EC2 instance is the equivalent of the traditional servers in the past time, but in the cloud. All the difficulties of requesting and managing server now have been eliminated by using the cloud and creating an EC2 instance in just a few clicks in a very friendly graphical user interface. In the past, if you wanted to provision your server with a specific hardware requirements, for example, you wanted a server with 4 CPUs, 16 gigabytes of RAM, 2 network interfaces, and a 1 terabyte disk, you had to purchase your hardware and check the compatibility of each part to the other parts and spend a lot of time to set it up. But now you can easily specify those specifications when creating your EC2 instance and configure it however you want just by a few clicks. In the old days, if you wanted to upgrade or downgrade your hardware resources, you had to purchase different parts and components and ask someone or your provider to access your server, turn it off, dismantle your chassis, disassemble some parts, and carefully install your hardware parts, and then reassemble everything and turn it back on. You can imagine how frustrating and time-consuming this process was, especially if you needed to do it often time to time. But in the cloud, none of that. You can easily manage this by just changing some numbers in the graphical panel, and you'll have your updated resources in just a few minutes. In the old days, let's say if you needed to have 5 times more of the current resources for just a short period of time, you had to pay a tremendous amount of money purchasing the hardware that only needed for example, for a week, and you didn't know what to do with it. But in the cloud, you can easily increase or decrease your resources as you wish and on demand based on your needs and requirements anytime. Let me give you another example. Previously, if you needed to configure the operating system of your server, you had to install it via DVD, flash drive, or network, or any other manual way, right? But in the cloud, you can choose your operating system when you want to create your EC2 instance. You can specify whether you want your server with Windows Server or a Linux operating system. You can easily select from hundreds of versions and distributions, or even use your own custom-built operating system and software on your server. In the old days, if you needed to connect to your server, you required a physical connection of your mouse, keyboard, or monitors to your server. However, in the cloud, you can easily connect to your cloud server remotely by a single click on your web browser or SSH from your local laptop directly, offering the same or even a better experience. So with that being said, you can now understand EC2 service is nothing but a modernized way of what we used to have in the past with taste of the cloud and all its benefits. Now let's look at some of EC2 and the cloud benefits. The first one is elasticity. Elasticity is the ability to adjust your required computing resources to meet your demand without any downtime or performance impact. You can easily increase or decrease your hardware and its specifications. The second benefit is scalability. EC2 provides on-demand or even automatic scalability. You can quickly scale up or down based on your needs without need to deal with any hardships just by a few clicks or defining different policies. This flexibility is ideal for handling unpredictable workloads and can lead to significant cost saving over the time. With EC2, you only pay for the resources and compute time that you use. If you use your server for an hour, for example, you only pay for that amount of time. This pay-as-you-go model eliminates the need for a large upfront investment in the hardware and reduces the cost of maintaining excess capacity that might not be used consistently. The other benefit is agility. EC2 instances can be provisioned and launched in minutes, allowing businesses to set up and deploy applications very rapidly. One of the most important benefits is reliability. You should remember the regions and availability zones concept that we covered earlier, right? You have the ability to provision your resources on any region or any AZs you like, and you can set up your infrastructure in multiple regions or multiple AZs for having more reliability and stability and also reducing your risks. One of the other benefits that the cloud brings to us is the security. You can implement different security measures easier with more options in the cloud. Now let's look at some of the key questions related to EC2 service. The first question is where you can use EC2 and create your instances. Well, as we've already mentioned, you can use EC2 and create EC2 instances across every AWS region and within multiple availability zones within those regions. As covered in our AWS Global Infrastructure video, AWS has provisioned its cloud across the globe in different regions, each containing multiple AZs, and each AZ may contain one or more data centers. And on each data center, there are hundreds or thousands of servers. Any EC2 instance that you request to create on your panel will be actually placed on one of those thousands of servers in that particular location. The second question is, what responsibilities fall to the user and what aspects are managed by AWS? As the question requires more time to discuss, we will precisely delve into the shared responsibility model of the cloud services in the next videos, but for now, the most important note is that AWS is responsible for providing and protecting the underlying infrastructure and the resources that it gives you, which means its own data centers and the physical servers that your EC2 machine runs on top of them. And on the flip side, you, as the user, are in charge of the management of the guest operating system, including updates, security patches, and anything running on your server. So AWS for EC2 service only provides you with the required infrastructure, and you have to manage and harden everything on top of that yourself. The next question is, how can you connect to your EC2 instance? Well, there are several common ways to access your EC2 instances. The first is through the AWS Management Console, which makes you able to configure and manage your instances through a web browser. Next, you can use SSH or Secure Shell. That allows you to establish a secure connection to your instance from your local laptop. Next, you can use EC2 Instance Connect. With this method, there is no need to install an SSH client, and you can use AWS IAM policies to control access to your instances, removing the need to manage SSH keys. Another common way is AWS Systems Manager. With using this service, you're able to manage your EC2 instances through an interactive one-click browser-based shell or through the AWS CLI. And the last question, what pricing options do I have for using EC2 service? Well, there are several pricing options to choose when you're using EC2 instances, and that's really based on your case and your budget. The first one is called on-demand. On-demand is the typical and common way that people use EC2 service. It is a fixed price in which you are billed down to the amount of seconds you use your instance. There is no contract and you pay for only what you use. Some common use cases for on-demand is when you care about low cost and you don't want to make an upfront payment or a long-term commitment. Or if you have an application that have unpredictable workloads that cannot be interrupted, you can consider the on-demand instances. Also, if you have an application that's under development or your workloads and utilization is less than a year, an on-demand instance works great for those situations. Next, we have spot instances. Spot instances let you take advantage of unused EC2 capacity across the AWS cloud. So your request is fulfilled only if any underutilized resources or capacity are available. With that being said, you notice that you can use this method only when you're not concerned about the start and stop time of your application, or if you have the workloads that can be interrupted and the stability of your particular application does not matter to you. And the great thing is that you can save up to 90% off of on-demand instances with this method. So that makes the spot instances the cheapest options available for EC2 instances. Next, we have reserved instances. In this method, you're basically making a reservation, like the name says. And it allows you to commit to a specific instance type in a certain region for 1 or 3 years. You use reserved instances when your application has steady state usage and you can actually commit to a 1 or 3 year term. Reserved instances also make a great use case for when you want to pay money upfront in order to receive a discount off on-demand prices or your application requires a capacity reservation. It's interesting that you can save up to 75% off on-demand prices with this method. The next method is called dedicated hosts. Now, this method allows you to pay for a physical server that is fully dedicated to running your instances. That means no other AWS customer is going to have applications running on this server. Well, this method is used particularly under special circumstances. For example, when you want to bring your own server-bound software licenses from vendors like Oracle or Microsoft or any other vendors. Or if you have some regulatory or corporate compliant requirements around the tenancy model. Okay, that will wrap up our overview of Amazon EC2. Remember, EC2 is definitely one of the most important services in the cloud, and we will delve into getting hands-on of this service and its different features in the next videos. So stay tuned, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and see you in the next video.